Hello, welcome or welcome back. My name is Amanda and this is Birchandlily, my channel all about knitting. Today I am really excited to sit down with you and talk about some free knitting patterns that are perfect to use with one skein of yarn that you have kicking around in your stash. Each of these patterns should use no more than one skein of yarn of whatever weight they call for. So I've got 10 fun patterns today, a whole wide range of things from home good type items, bags, baby clothes, adult clothes. Do I have adult clothes? I don't know. I guess there's hats and gowns and stuff. I would call those adult clothes. But yeah, I have a nice big collection of patterns today that you can use on those single skeins in your stash or scrap yarn or whatever you're feeling like. So with that being said, let's jump on in. One really quick announcement before we jump on into those free patterns. I do want to announce the giveaway winner from 2 weeks ago's video. I need to look up the name. I can't remember the name of my own videos, apparently. 10 must knit summer patterns? Let's see if I guessed right. Yeah, that's what it was called. 10 must knit summer patterns. So I did have a giveaway in that video of Marzena's new ebook, Sydney Summer Knits. I haven't drawn the winner at the time of recording, but I'm going to pop that in there once I edit this video. So that'll be across the screen right now, and I will have contacted the winner as everyone gave me their information in the Google form who entered, so I should have their email. So yeah, I will contact this winner and get their information and get that ebook on the way to them. Now let's jump into the patterns. So I've kind of sorted these by category a little bit, like accessories and then adult clothing-y type things, baby stuff, home good stuff. They're in somewhat of an organized order, but all of these patterns are free, so I'm not gonna keep saying that throughout the video. But I do have the yardages written down for all of these, as well as the gauge and the yarn weight and that sort of thing, so that you can get a good idea of what you might be jumping into. And along with that, all of the patterns are always linked down below in the description, so you can find them nice and easily. So the first pattern is the Ilene bag by Hannah Mason. This is a sport weight pattern, and the pattern page on Ravelry does say you'll need approximately 270 yards or 247 meters of sport weight yarn to knit this. The gauge is 20 stitches by 26 rows to get 4 inches square of knitting, and it comes in one size. So as you can see, this is a market style bag. So one of those bags you could take to the farmer's market or the grocery store to do your shopping. I think it would be great as a project bag as well too. You probably want to have some sort of needle stopper on your project though, because the needles could quite easily poke through the bag if you didn't. But just a really nice tote bag that I think is quite multi-purpose and also a really great gift. I feel like anyone can use another bag. I have so many of them in the back of my car and in my closet, and I'm using them all the time to bring something to a friend's house or bring home groceries. They're really super versatile and also a great way to use up a lot of yarn. The pattern page does state that this is a very stretchy bag, so they've designed it with a really comfortable wide strap that won't dig into your shoulder. The strap also isn't super long, and the designer does say this is intentional because the strap will stretch out over time, so that way as it stretches it doesn't become ridiculously long and it's not dangling down by your knees. So with that being said, if you do want to make the strap longer, you are going to need slightly more yardage to knit this pattern up, or you could use your one skein of yarn and some scrap yarn to do the strap, do a two-tone type project, and then you wouldn't have to worry about running out of yardage if you want the strap longer. I know this video is for one skein of yarn, but just wanted to throw that option out there as well. Looking at the pattern page here, there is actually a photo of someone who did knit this bag with a two-toned effect. Next we have the Soul Washcloth and Headwrap by Jacqueline Cieslak, and this is like a 2-in-1 free pattern. So it was originally written just to be a washcloth, and I think it was written to use up yarn left over from one of her, yes, from her Soul Tank pattern. So it was knit with whatever yarn you had left over from that, using that up in mind. But then she did create a hack to it so that you can also turn it into a head wrap. So this is a fingering weight pattern, and you're going to use about 100 yards or 91 meters for the washcloth and about 168 yards or 155 meters for the head wrap. The gauge for this one is quite loose for a fingering weight yarn. It is a gauge of 22 stitches by 28 rows to get 4 inches of knitting, but I think that lends itself quite well to the head wrap. It's going to have that drape that makes it really easy to wrap it around your head and tie it in a knot in the back. It's not going to be too stiff for something like that. There is only one size, I guess technically 2 in the pattern because the dishcloth is one size and the head wrap is another, but one size for each of those is included in the pattern. The whole pattern is worked back and forth flat. On one side of the flat piece, you're going to have a lace panel, and on the other side of the flat piece, you have a ribbed section, which gives it some really pretty texture. And yeah, like I said, the full mods are available to turn this into a head wrap as well. There's a link on the Ravelry pattern page to Jacqueline's blog, and that's where you will find that information. The Penelope Kerchief by Lonnea Nyman. I really hope I pronounced that correctly. Beautiful, unique name, but I'm not 100% sure how to say it. Anyways, this is a really beautiful kerchief bandana type pattern. It is knit out of DK weight yarn, and it's going to use anywhere from 87 to 127 yards. In meters, that is 80 to 115 meters. The gauge for this one doesn't give a row gauge, it only gives a stitch gauge, and that is 21 stitches to get 4 inches of knitting. And it comes in, I think, 5 different sizes: 6 to 12 months, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 4 years, 5 years plus, and then an adult size. This pattern is also worked flat back and forth. There's lace in the center of it, and then you finish everything off with an I-cord, also including the little I-cord ties in that bind off. I think this would be a great pattern to use up some of that cotton or cotton merino yarn you have in your stash. A really nice thing to grab in the summer and quickly tie back your hair, but also protect your head from the sun. I haven't knit a kerchief or bandana yet myself, but I do think they're really cute and stylish, and they're definitely coming back in style, so I think this would be a great one. And it would also make a really cute and quick gift for someone who has a child or a newborn in your life. The Celtic Headband by Juliana Lustenader is another really quick to knit pattern, and also a great way to practice some cabling. This one is knit out of bulky weight yarn, and you're going to use anywhere from 70 to 100 yards of yarn, or 64 to 91 meters. The gauge for this is 17 stitches. Again, this one doesn't have a row gauge, which is a little strange to me, but it's a free pattern, so I'm not going to complain too much. But you're going to get 17 stitches per 4 inches. There's one size available in this pattern, but it does also say it's very easily adjustable, so keep that in mind. The one size that is written in the pattern is for a 20-inch head circumference. The pattern does have both written and charted instructions, which is great for a cabled pattern. This would be a great way to practice reading a chart as well. The headband itself is knit flat and then connected in the round when you're done, so like I said, that makes it really easy to adjust based off of the circumference that you want for your head. It's knit widthwise, so you're going to be working back and forth in the skinny direction. I hope that makes sense. So that's why it's so easily adjustable. You can knit it and continue wrapping it around your head and testing the fit of it, so you don't have to completely seam the whole thing up until you know it's going to fit you exactly the way you want to. I did not write down, and I should check the way that it calls for you to connect the headband together when you're finished. Yeah, it doesn't give you a specific way to seam it together. It just says seam it together using a long tail that you have left when you finished everything off. I would suggest maybe doing the mattress stitch, or you could even do a 3-needle bind off once you're done. Just pick up the stitches on the one side of the headband, or you could do a provisional cast on at the beginning and then do a 3-needle bind off. I'm probably making this more complicated than it needs to be, but use your preferred seaming method and I think it'll work out just fine. The Berry Scarf by Soul of June Designs is something I feel like, this is gonna sound bad, I feel like it was stylish when I was a kid, and I had totally forgot about this style of scarf, and now I feel like I need one because I feel like This is exactly what I'm looking for every winter when I'm cold, but I don't want something too bulky, but I still want something that like covers my neck and I can tuck under my jacket that isn't like a big bulky cowl or a scarf I have to wrap around a couple times. This scarf is described as a bow tie scarf. It is knit out of worsted weight yarn, and you're going to use approximately 150 to 200 yards of worsted weight yarn, or 137 to 183 meters. The gauge for this pattern is 21 stitches by 38 rows to get 4 inches square of knitting. And there are 2 sizes available, one for kids and one for adults. Like I said, it's a traditional bow style scarf, if that means anything to you, and it has really sweet bobble and knot details on it. They give it a really pretty classy, timeless, a little bit more dressed up type look to it. As I stated earlier, going to be really great to tuck under a winter jacket, maybe even a fancier jacket when you're dressed up for a wedding or something like that. And it's also going to be a really quick and easy knit, great for a gift knit for Christmas. I know it's July, but it would be great for Christmas or a birthday or who knows what. Very quick and wonderful and stylish knit. The Bynx Cowl by Hayley Quinn is another pattern that is really great for practicing your cables. This is a nice, simple, twisted cable cowl. It is knit out of DK weight yarn. You're going to need approximately 175 to 220 yards of yarn. In meters, that is 160 to 201 meters. The gauge for this pattern is 21 stitches by 25 rows, and it comes in 2 sizes, both child and adult. As I said earlier, this is going to be another great pattern to practice those cables. It just has one really simple type of cable, a twisted cable, but with 2 different sizes, so you get 2 different variations of those twisted cables to practice throughout. It would also be a great pattern to practice cabling without a cable needle. I feel like that's a really great skill to have. It's definitely sped up my knitting, so if that's something that interests you, I think it would be great. The DK weight yarn is thick enough that it's a little bit easier to not lose those stitches if you accidentally drop them, and the cables aren't too large, so you're not going to have something super complicated that you're trying to practice the technique with. When skein pattern videos always seem to fly by because there aren't tons of details I have to talk about. They're all relatively simple patterns. They don't use a lot of yarn. There's not a lot of sizes, so definitely going to be a quicker video this week, but hopefully still full of a lot of valuable information for you. That's my hope. Next we have the Happy Feet Booties by Purl Soho. This pattern is definitely going to go into my repertoire of baby gift knits. It's really cute, but also really quick. It's knit out of DK weight yarn, so it's going to work up relatively quickly, and you're going to need anywhere from 50 to 55 yards or 46 to 50 meters of yarn, so not very much yarn at all. The gauge for this pattern is 20 stitches by 40 rows, and it has 2 different sizes available in this pattern, 0 to 3 months and 3 to 6 months. The pattern page does also say that the pattern itself is written to use 1 skein, sorry, I'm looking at my computer here, 1 skein of Purl Soho cotton Cairo fully. So you'll be able to knit 1 pair of 0 to 3 month booties and 1 pair of 3 to 6 month booties out of that 1 skein. So you'll be able to knit booties that will carry that baby through all the way to 6 months. These sweet little booties are knit fully in garter stitch, and they are knit flat. I do have copied from the pattern page here the instructions because they're a little bit complicated, and I definitely cannot rattle them off the top of my head. So pardon me while I look at my notes here. You will start by knitting the toe and the instep flat, so that is the sides and the top of the boot, and then you're going to work simple short rows to make the sole. You'll continue knitting to create the heel, then fold the stitches in half and close the back of the heel with a 3 needle bind off. Finally, you will seam the top of the foot closed with a whip stitch to complete the boot. So a little bit of seaming involved, nothing too complicated. Probably a great way to practice seaming because it's such a small item. You're not seaming up the whole side of a sweater or something like that, but it makes a really nice heirloom type baby gift that even when the baby isn't wearing them anymore, you could set them on the shelf in their bedroom and they'd make a really cute decor piece as well. Continuing along with some baby patterns here, I have the Puerperium cardigan. This is a pattern by Kelly van Niekerk, and it is a pattern knit out of DK weight yarn again. You're looking at a yardage of 197 to 219 yards, or 108 to 200 meters of yarn. This little cardigan's gauge is 22 stitches by 30 rows, and it does come in one size. It states that it's going to fit a baby with about a 7 to 9 pound birth weight, and it gives an approximate chest circumference of 14.75 inches or 37.5 centimeters. This pattern is knit top down seamlessly. It has instructions written for both just a straight sleeve with no decreases, as well as a sleeve with some tapered decreases to it, so you can knit that depending on what your preference is. And it is knit in a way that I think is wonderful for a newborn. It has buttons that run all the way down the side of the neck and then down the side of the body, so you're not going to have to try and slip this little sweater cardigan. I guess it's a cardigan because of those buttons. That makes more sense now that I'm saying it out loud. It looks like a pullover, but because of those buttons down the side, it's considered a cardigan. And you're not gonna have to pull it over the baby's head. You can slip it on like a cardigan and then button it up, or you can leave it open, I guess, if you really desired. This pattern also says that it is a great blank canvas to add embellishments to it. You could put stripes, you could put lace, you could put baubles, you could put whatever you wanted if you so desired. So there is that room to play with this pattern as well. And looking at the photos, I totally agree with what they said there. There are examples of it knit with the stripes. If I continue scrolling, there's also ones that are knit with garter stitch. There are ones that have short little cap sleeves. You can basically do anything with this cardigan, and it's going to knit up super quickly because you only need one skein of DK weight yarn. Finally, I have two little patterns. I would call them like houseware or decor type patterns. The first one here is the Bluebird of Happiness. This is a pattern by Sara Elizabeth Kellner. I feel like maybe 5-ish years ago, this one was super popular, and when I was scrolling through patterns on Ravelry, I saw it and remembered seeing so many of them knit and how cute they were as decor pieces. You can hang them in your window. You could use them as a Christmas ornament. You could use them as embellishment on a gift, tie it on a little gift bag, or just give it to someone as a gift. It's a really great way to use up tiny little scraps of yarn, so you don't even need a full skein for this pattern. It does call for worsted weight yarn, and you're going to need approximately 20 to 30 yards or 18 to 27 meters worth of yarn. It doesn't have a gauge written, so I feel like you could knit this out of whatever weight of yarn you wanted, and your bird's size is just going to change according to whatever size or weight of yarn that you knit it out of. There is only one size of little birdie included in this pattern, but like I just said, adjust it based off of what type of yarn, what weight of yarn you're using. And it is knit fully in the round. It's one piece from head to tail, which means no seaming whatsoever. And it also says it's easily made in about an hour or two. So if you need a really quick gift, you forgot to grab something, this would be a fun pattern to quickly knit up, or just something to get that rush of finishing a project really quickly and then move on to maybe something that's been languishing and you've had in knitting hibernation or knitting timeout for quite a while. Finally, we have the cinnamon cable knit pumpkins. I can't help myself. I love pumpkins so much. Well, let's be honest, I do have some pumpkins out in my house all year. I have some lovely friends who purchased me a watercolor painting of pumpkins from another friend of mine. So double whammy there. Anyways, it's too pretty and I leave it out all year. So if I was to knit these little pumpkins, I feel like I would do the exact same thing. This pattern is by Louise Bolanos, and it is knit out of super bulky weight yarn. You're going to need about 60 to 70 yards or 55 to 64 meters of yarn. The gauge for this pattern is 16 stitches by 20 rows, and it comes in one size. I feel like you could easily adjust the sizing to it though, if you're not adverse to a little bit of math, or if you wanted to use even bulkier yarn. hold super bulky double, use some really big needles, and you can make a massive pumpkin. The pattern page does state that the pumpkins are really easy to make, and the pattern is written with beginner knitters in mind. It is knit flat using straight needles, but you could easily use circular needles or whatever needles you want to knit flat. You don't have to use straight needles. I never use straight needles. I don't even own straight needles at this point. I had someone who wanted to give me straight needles, and I was like, no, I love my circular needles. Thank you, though. So you don't have to knit them on straight needles. And I don't blame you at all if you don't want to. As I stated but moments ago, it is an easy level knitting pattern, and it does say that techniques involved are just knit stitch, purl stitch, a 4 cable stitch, and casting on and binding off. So nothing terribly complicated, one of the simplest cables in the world, and you get a really cute home decor piece out of it. You could hold actually a whole bunch of scrap yarn together to get a bulky weight and make marled pumpkins. Can you? Oh, that would be so cute. It would be so cute. I never have time, but if I have time this year, I think I'm gonna make some marled pumpkins. Maybe we need to have a pumpkin knit along. Pumpkin along? I'm gonna have to keep that idea in the back of my mind. Anyways, with that being said, those are all of the free patterns that I pulled for this video. I hope you found something you loved and something that you can use up some scrap yarn or that one lingering skein you have in your stash left over from a sweater, or just because, let's be honest, we all buy single skeins of yarn sometimes. So yeah. I hope you were inspired today, and I can't wait to spend some more time with you again. I hope I will see you next Tuesday for a regular podcast episode. If you haven't subscribed already, I would really appreciate if you did so. Hit that thumbs up button so I know that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!